Just with Vikings, they're 1-3. Obviously, the record doesn't look great, but when you look at the talent they have, what do you see out of that team?
Yeah, they played a tough schedule, John. They've had good teams that they played. They've been in the games. They can do a lot of stuff. They got big-time firepower on offense. This is a defensive scheme that we've always respected because of Coach Zimmer and how he does it. Very difficult to get an edge on their defense. They do such a marvelous job of mixing stuff, and they're really schooled at all of that. And so it's a real tough matchup anytime you play these guys because he's got a great team and they always play well.
Curtis?
Yeah, Pete, have Jonathan Bullard and Damon Harrison both done enough for you in practice this week to show that they're in a place they could help you if you need them this weekend?
They both have been able to get to work. Yeah, it doesn't. It gives us the chance to choose. Yeah, that's where we are. You know what to do with those guys, and we'll play it all the way through the weekend. Make sure. I mean, all the, till Sunday before we determine what we're doing there for you guys.
Corbin?
Hey, Pete, the other day you made it sound like it was going to be an absolute long shot for Jordan Brooks to be able to play this weekend, but he's listed as questionable. Has he turned the corner a little bit the last few days?
I just walked off the field with him, and he is feeling a lot better, and he has made a turn. So it's positive. You know, again with that week next week looming, it's kind of hard to not utilize that for some of these guys, and so that's in the back of my mind for sure.
Tim?
Along those same lines, how did Quentin get through the week, and do you expect him to be able to go?
Yeah, he did real well, particularly yesterday in practice, in a full go practice, and there's a really good chance that he's going to be ready to go.
Would he probably be on a little bit of a pitch count and probably splitting time with Trey, even if he does play?
Got to wait and see.
Jen Mueller?
I'm going to keep the injury questions going. Carlos Hyde, did he make it through the week better than last week? And how did last week just kind of help him get right?
Well, both of the weeks have been good for him in that he's, you know, like I've said to you, he's been able to work and get good speed work done and timing and all of that. We just have to make the decision on whether or not he's going to be safe to go, and we don't want to set him back at all, knowing we have a big break coming, and so he's another one of those guys that kind of falls into that kind of consideration. He probably could play in this game, and we know that, and so he's going to do some politicking here on the way out through the weekend and see how that conversation goes all the way up to Sunday.
Joe Fan?
Hey, Jamal mentioned on his podcast that he was having a tough time with being hurt, and there was times where he had a tough time being in the meeting rooms, and he had some conversations with you. And what is that like with a player where you gotta let him know that you gotta get right and you're not letting us down, but it's kind of part of the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard on him because he's so competitive, and he's at the far end of the spectrum in the kind of energy that he brings and operates with, and his expectations are so high and all. To have to deal with the frustration of not being able to express all of that is really difficult, and I recognize that only as a strength, and a positive, and also we've worked our way through it, and it's why I made the declaration for him, early, so we're not hanging with it during the week. We want to make sure and get him right. That was just so that he can get really focused on the work he's done. He's applying himself to his rehab like he does on the football field, and so he's really going for it, and he's going to be ready next turn, just not this one.
Masvita?
Hey, Pete, how has the offensive line been able to stay consistent and just, play so well? Because they're the ones that are opening all this.
Well, I mean, you kind of said it. The consistency that they've had to play together has really helped, and particularly with the shortened offseason and all of that. That was a big question mark, probably the key question mark that we had, is how fast could these guys come together. So we had to make an early decision to give Damian a shot to go for it. And we just went on the limited information that we had and the expectations and the hopes that we had, and it turned out great, and it really made a difference. I think also making an earlier commitment than maybe we thought we would to Ethan helped also, and so that he could get the communications and make sure that he was captaining that that front and all of the conversation that is so crucial to the position. He's done a great job of, and so we lucked out a little bit in a couple early decisions on those guys that kept us with the same guys working, and you can see there's continuity and there's confidence growing, and we're just getting started. So we're really looking forward to continuing to improve.
Greg?
Pete, there's some folks around the league floating the idea of maybe self-bubbling teams, 32 bubbles that travel around here the next 4 months now that more teams have gotten infected. I know you said you're virtually in a bubble, or your mindset is that. Do you see any value in putting players in hotels and locking them down in a team-run facility between games?
I don't at this point, because we've gone probably close to 60 straight days, of everybody maintaining. Now that, the odds just, they continue to grow, that, it gets more difficult. It doesn't get easier. It gets probably more difficult, just more variables that can enter in. But, we've had great communications with our guys. They have, expressed how they're doing it and how they're making it in their living setup, and we have no reason not to trust that they get it. Now we just have to stay with it, and so this is a bubble, of sorts. I mean, that's how we're living, and what has to happen is our awareness and our attendance have to be on, so that we don't allow somebody to get into us, and so that's we've given them a really good format and a process for anybody that does have to come from outside in, so that we can test people and prepare them and give them our own protocol to let anybody close to us, and so we just have to maintain it. I don't think we have to change. I don't think that's going to make us better. There's other issues when you close in too, that if you can't get that organized, it can be a problem. So we're going to keep, keeping our fingers crossed, but we're going to work really, really hard and stay on it. And, I have to do, the best job to just keep the message alive and keep it going. And then everybody in the support system around has to continue to work. And there's uncomfortable things that we have to do and say and hold on to, that you wouldn't choose naturally. You have to be more concerned and more focused. And so it's just a great challenge of discipline and really diligence. And so, I don't think we need to change it. I think we need to just keep doing it.
For fans that know, Pete, what are you telling the players when they go home? They can't have anybody beyond immediate family members. They can't go to restaurants. It has to be takeout or delivery. What kind of everyday restrictions do they have?
Yeah, well, everything that you can think of, everything that you said, everything that you can think of, we can't let anybody from the outside in come into us until we've cleared them. So and we really totally discourage any visitors coming into town. And I've always put it on me, Coach Carroll won't let us have visitors or whatever. This is not that season, when you get to do that. But if indeed there is going to be somebody coming in, then we have a whole protocol for how we have arranged for our guys, so that they just let us know. As long as they let us know, then we'll take care of it, and we'll get everything cleared. And it is about the discipline of the habits and we know that gathering places is the biggest issue, and those are unfortunately the restaurants, that are closed in and all. Those are really difficult settings for people, and you have masks down when you're eating and all of that. So those are just the most difficult settings. So our guys have to be disciplined with that, but we also have to give them alternatives too, to make their choices easier. And the job that the people in food service have done it's remarkable. I mean, it's amazing that we've been able to do what we're doing and give the guys choices, and they're okay about it. They're not, if the food was bad, then it would be different, but that's not the case. So guys are hanging with it. Now, we've finished one quarter of the season, so we're just getting going. And so the cool thing is that we know, and they have the conscience. It's the conscience that they got to hold on to. We have that working for us, and we just have to keep staying with it and hope that nobody strays. And we're on point. Everybody's on point.
I'm sorry to belabor it. Are they allowed? They're not allowed to eat at restaurants. You give them food to take home, or it's only delivery, or?
We're discouraging all of the, eating out. Yeah.
Thanks.
And I hate to say that because for all the people that are trying to make their living,
Right.
with the restaurants and all that, but that's just how we've had to do it and govern it. And there's just so much at stake for everybody that that's one of the deals that we've had to go with. One other thing, it doesn't mean you don't get to eat great food from restaurants either. You just don't get to go sit in there. That's the deal.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Art.
And. No, go ahead. Next.
Pete, if I had told you a few years back that you were going to have a 4-0 team but be last in the league statistically in defense, would you have bought it?
No, I probably would have challenged that thought. I would have challenged that thought. It's interesting. I go back every week and go back and look at our defense and our offense again near the end of the week, Thursday and Friday, and that's to look at it. From the perspective of you're away from the game and away from the evaluations and away from the scheme evaluation, and to see what our opponents are looking at. And I came away from my work with the defense today. I finished this morning. I'm proud of the way these guys are playing. They're playing hard as hell. They're working hard at the principles of the defense. They're giving us the efforts that makes a difference. There's playmaking out there. Our numbers just aren't what we like, and so as long as we keep getting better and we keep working and you feel good about the way that the guys are going about it and the way we're practicing and the way the coaches are teaching, then, this is just what we have to live with. It just happens to be this season. They aren't all the same, but I would have been hard-pressed to say, oh, yeah, well, we could be, giving up whatever we're giving up in passing yardage and be able to win the games. But I would have said, well, what's our turnover ratio? And that's first question I should have asked you. And we're up there. We're not at the top yet. We're second, but we're getting there. We're knocking on the door.
Ben.
Pete, what have you seen from both Travis Homer to start the season and DJ Dallas, who had his first offensive snaps?
Yeah. First off, Travis is a unique player. He's a really unique player that singled himself out last year early on. Because of his approach to the game. He's really tough, and he's really explosively strong and fast, and he knows how to play the game and show what he's all about. He shows his strengths when he plays. It showed up really early in camp, and then in the special teams work. We put him in charge of the punt team, and he could take the responsibility. All of that. By the time he got a chance to play last year, we were so convinced that he was going to do fine and we wouldn't have any problem with him because he had shown us. We weren't surprised at all how he did. Well, he kind of brought his little brother in with him. When DJ got here, those guys were buddies back at home and playing at DU. And DJ has a big personality. He's got real versatility to him. What I couldn't appreciate through the process of getting him here was how tough a guy he is as well. Those two guys are just feed off of one another, and they're a great pair. And so the fact that here they are, playing in games and they're contributing and all that, there's nobody that they care for more than the other guy, and they're really like the Griffin brothers almost. They're that close, and so there's something special about these guys, and we love what they're doing. And so we're looking for chances for them to help us in a lot of different ways. So they're a really good pair.
Curtis.
Yeah, Pete, Leno, with his back, are you surprised he hasn't bounced back as quick? Was there any other setback he had, or is he getting pretty close for you at this point?
No, he has not been able to make the turn. He's got some issues that he's dealing with that it seems to be kind of in a pattern where it's not changing much. So we're concerned about him getting right. There's not much he can do. He's got some, I don't want to talk about it, but he's got some stuff that he's dealing with that he just has to get through and it has to resolve. And if it doesn't, then it could be a long-term deal for him. So we just got to get him, one day to the next and see what happens. And his attitude is really good and all, but he's not getting the relief that we would like to see happen. And so he's not looking like he's going to be able to get back. If he does, he does. And he'll pop back when he comes. He can, he can run, he can do a lot of things, but there's some issues that he has. So there's a question about him each week right now.
And how did Mikey Potty make it through for you?
Mike came back today and felt okay. We took care of him today, but he just had some lower back little spasms or something that jumped up and resolved real quickly.
Thank you, everyone.
See ya.